Hey, Joe Soto here, and Herbert Spencer once said, how often misused words generate misleading thoughts? Powerful, really powerful statement. And once I really understood the power of that sentence, how often misused words generate misleading thoughts, I started to take it more seriously with how I said what it was I was saying to just about everybody I spoke to. And it really brings me to talk to you about the power of negation. The word not. And I'm not suggesting that this is going to be something that could help you increase your sales overnight, but for some of you, it just might be able to help you do that. Now, I just used the power of not and the power of negation in what I just said to you. It might have just happened so fast you didn't catch it. But how do I explain this? That's the hard part, is actually teaching this. Let me just say something. Let me just say this to you. Don't think of your car right now. Don't think of the color of your car. Don't think of your house. How about this? Don't think about the house that you grew up in for the majority of your childhood. How many of you've already thought about your car, you thought about the color of your car, you thought about your house, you thought about the house you grew up in? Like, I am telling you what not to think about, and you're thinking about all those things. And you're probably saying, well, Joe, stop saying not to think of those things, and I'll stop thinking of them. And I understand that. But that's the power of it. You must think of your car in order to know how to process the sentence of what not to think about. And therein lies the power of the word not, the power of negation. It can also be one of the most dangerous words you ever use, and it can also be one of the most powerful words you ever use if you just learn how to use it more deliberately. And I'm not saying you're going to learn how to use it deliberately today or tomorrow, but I am suggesting that when you start paying closer attention to the words that you use, especially the word not, or variations of negation and the word not, you'll become more constructive in how you use it. How often have you overheard sales professionals or salespeople or salesperson say to you something like, don't worry, you're not going to have to worry about that with us. Okay, maybe you've expressed a concern, and they've said, you're not going to have to worry about that. And all of a sudden, you have to think about worrying about that in order to and then crossing it out in your mind in order to understand what you're not going to have to do. It's a very potent negative thing to say to somebody when you're trying to get them to buy something in your favor and in their favor. I've heard people say, you won't have that problem with our customer service. Okay? That's different than saying, you're going to have great success with our customer service because we do things differently here. That's different than saying, you won't have that problem with us. And in fact, you're not going to have people, not answering your question. And it's like, they say, oh my gosh, stop talking like that because you're making them think of that. Think about with children. We say, don't spill this. And they have to think about spilling it, and don't is a variation of not, do not spill this. They have to think about spilling their cup in order to understand visually what it is they're supposed to cross out of their mind and not do. And then what happens is they end up spilling it, and you're like, that's the exact thing I told you not to do, and you keep doing it. And we wonder why we have these parenting struggles. And as a father of 9 children, I get it. I've said things, and I'm like, man, I just told them not to do that. And they're like, oh, I'm doing it myself. I got to instead telling what I want to do instead, not what I don't want them to do. So it's very powerful. I always say, like when someone says you won't have that problem with our customer service, for example, in order for your customer just to understand that sentence, they have to either imagine having that problem in the past with a past product provider, or having that problem with you in the future if they decide to buy it from you. So, and while they'll do it very quickly, they'll do it very unconsciously, you do not want those representations inside their mind that you've planted there. So it's powerful, right? Or I've heard people say, we're not one of those companies that are gone here today, gone tomorrow. Oh my gosh, stop saying that. So how do we use this more powerfully, right? So one of the ways to use it powerfully is by using the word not to suggest something that is positive. Like, for instance, I'll say, Jim, I'm not saying this is something you're going to act on right away, And then you go and start talking a little bit about what it is you want them to act on. But you've planted the seed that they could act on it right away. You're just suggesting that they may not. That's a powerful way to use it. So I also may say, I'm not saying we're the experts in this, but we have expertise. Let me kind of share with you what that is. But now you've at least planted the seeds that you could be the expert, okay? And that is for them to decide, right? I could also say, I'm not saying I'm the only choice out there for getting the most for your money in terms of an ad agency, but I also know that we have a proven track record of working with businesses much like yours, okay? Another way you can use it. You don't have to decide to go with our agency. You can go in a different direction. It's completely up to you. But I want them to think about going with our agency, so I can plant that with them. I may just say, you know what, Jim, following this presentation, I'm not suggesting that you're going to be able to give me an answer and a green light right away. That's going to be entirely the ball that's going to be in your court. But what I want to do is walk through these solutions together so you're very clear on what it is we're proposing. But at least now I've planted the seed of them giving it a green light. I've only just said I don't expect it necessarily. But you'd be surprised people who like to prove you wrong, and they'll give you a green light simply because you planted the seed. Very powerful. And you could probably spend some time writing down all the ways you could use the word not in a positive way and start taking inventory of how you might be using it in the disempowering way as well. So hope this is helpful to you. And just remember what Herbert Spencer says, how often misused words generate misleading thoughts. It's another way we open up our own can of worms. It's another way we bring resistance to the table without even knowing it. And now you have a way to get out of it by using the word not more productively.